and I won't back down. Hey, baby, there ain't no easy way out.
Do you have trouble sleeping? Well, that is a huge problem for so many people these days. And I'll tell you, with my current schedule and responsibilities, it includes me at times as well. So let me tell you what I have found to help me sleep better. Sleep Cream. Sleep Cream is a revolutionary new product made from all natural ingredients and with pure CBD. You simply rub it on sensitive skin areas right before bed. I will be honest, I was a bit of a skeptic, but after trying it once, I was amazed that it really works. They use all natural CBD combined with the finest essential oils, including lavender, and you just rub it on before bed before turning in for the evening. Bottom of my feet, inside of my forearms, those places work the best for me. And within minutes, it helps me relax and allows my body to do what it is supposed to do, which is sleep. You can find their amazing product at sleepcream.com. Just try Sleep Cream for a couple of nights and see if it works for you as well as it worked for me. If you don't experience better sleep, Sleep Cream will refund your entire purchase. That's simple. Hey, everybody, thanks so much for joining us right here on The Right View. Tonight, we are joined by Marine veteran and assistant coach for Bremerton High School varsity football team. The movie about him, called Average Joe, is out on October 11th. Please welcome Coach Joe Kennedy. Joe, thank you for joining us today. I'm really excited to see this movie. I'm excited because you put it the day before my birthday, October 11th.
We did that on purpose.
You did it on purpose. I know. And the good news is I have a lot of free time on my hands right now, but I truly am. I'm really excited to see the movie. And it's based on your life, but it was a particular incident that sort of skyrocketed you to fame and to notoriety, so to speak. You famously prayed after football games. That was something that you had sort of decided you wanted to do. How long did you do that before it became the major issue that it ultimately became and something that we all started to hear about?
Yeah, we were in the middle of our 8th season. So this has been going on a long time, twice a week, every week for 8 years. And it was never a problem. Nobody even batted an eye. It just was really weird how everything kicked off and went kind of sideways for us.
Yeah. So you did this for 8 years. No one cared. What happened that, in your estimation, that changed things, and how exactly were you first told that this was going to be an issue or that this was an issue for someone? And how did it escalate from there? Because I imagine it wasn't just like, oh, maybe you shouldn't do that. It sounds like it got a little more aggressive than that.
Yeah, well, these people are my friends. I've worked with them for almost a decade. We spent holidays together, the superintendent, all of them, we go to church together. So this is a close knit community. My wife worked for the school district. And so what happened is somebody from another school district came to one of our football games and saw afterwards the two teams joining together in great sportsmanship after we lost. I hate to say that part, but we all came together, and he felt compelled to call our principal and said, I just got to tell you what your football program is doing is awesome. So they launched an investigation to find out what was so awesome. And then their lawyers got involved. And that's when things really just started going crazy, because I didn't know that they were so liberal and so scared of anything. So they wanted to just go on the side of caution. And so I worked with them as much as I could. And they said, stop praying with the kids. I did. And then when they say you need to stop praying because people could still see you, that's where there was a bridge too far. I couldn't do that. And they cut the ties off, and I could no longer talk to the school, and I needed legal help from there.
Wow. I mean, I hate to say lawyers ruin everything, Joe, but they certainly ruin a lot. And I'll tell you who ruins a lot of things as well are liberals. And to your point, once these liberal attorneys, it sounds like, got involved, they said, wait a minute, we can't have this. And the irony, of course, is that it was a positive thing, right? This was something that a fellow, or I guess the away team, somebody from the away team saw and said, hey, this is really nice. It's a nice way to end a game. It's a nice way to wrap things up, to, no matter if you win or lose, come together at the end. Why was it initially important to you to start praying and to make that something that optically, was visible for people. Because I think there's some people who say, oh, I'd rather kind of do that on my own time or maybe away. And it's my understanding that you were told, oh, you could do this elsewhere, but not on the field. Why was it always important to you, though, to make that a bit of a public display?
Yeah, it originally started. I watched a movie, Facing the Giants, and I made a commitment with God that I would give him the glory after every game, win or lose, right there on the battlefield. So that's how it all started. And it wasn't necessarily, because it was on the 50-yard line. That's where the two teams meet as they cross the field. And I talked to the coaches, and I would just take a knee on the way back to our bench. And that was where it was. It was no big deal. And when they did give me the opportunity, they said, well, you could go pray where nobody could see you. That's where I had the rub of it. It wasn't the point of from a Christian or a religious standpoint that it was a problem. It was me as a red-blooded American. I am a lot like your father-in-law, Donald Trump. I am all American, and that's where I could not go. And it was a fact of it. It was a principle of it that nobody in America should have to be forced to go pray in their closets or where people can't see them, because our country's built off of this, and we should be accepting to each other in everybody's faith.
Absolutely. It is one of the reasons that this country was ultimately founded, Joe, was religious liberty, and it is in our United States Constitution. We all have the that First Amendment right, of course. Did you expect to get both positive and negative responses from things? Because obviously this, it escalated at a certain point, and you really did have people who were so behind you and had all of this, you got a big response from people, and you had a lot of folks behind you saying, this is something we want to champion. This is a guy that we want to get behind and make sure the right thing happens here. But you also kind of got negative as well. As everything happens, believe me, those of us in our family know all about that, Joe. But tell me about that, because to go from, when you're a football coach, especially, at a high school level, people know you, you're known around the school, you're known in the community, but this kind of skyrocketed you to fame that was nationwide. And tell me about the responses you got and how you dealt with all of that.
Yes, with our community, I think it brought our community together really well. Of course, you're going to have those, 1 or 2% loudmouths that, as your family knows, is always out there and trying to make a stink of everything. And when it went nationwide, it was so strange that something so insignificant like a 30-second prayer on a football field, this is not national news to me. This is not something that I think, needed to go to the Supreme Court. And I sure didn't expect your father-in-law, Donald Trump, to tweet about it and talk about it and put people on the court for it. So this was so far out there. I still have a hard time just wrapping my brain around it, because you do have the people that come against you, but I'm focused on Americans and bringing us all together and looking at it from a First Amendment view, not a left or a right or, any of the other things that divide our country. It's all about our Constitution and our amendments.
Well, tell me about kind of how things progressed from there and how you felt with the end result once you finally kind of wrapped it all up. This was a years-long situation, right?
Right. It took 8 years, and we lost 7 times at different courts. And I'm so glad it ended the way that it did at the Supreme Court and with the new justices, because it was the way they were ruling was that any display of religion in the public square could get you terminated. And that's chilling to me that the thought of that would happen. So I was worried that I was going to lose. I didn't think about winning. I just worried about losing and screwing up the religious freedom for all Americans. But thank God the Supreme Court ruled the way they did and told everybody in America that, hey, the Constitution, the First Amendment works together, the free speech and the free exercise and the freedom of religion. Those all work in cohesion. They're not opposing, which is the way that it has been for the past, I think, 53 years. There was an old case law that screwed it up for everybody, and we overturned that.
That's amazing. And then, correct me if I'm wrong, you went back, is it for one football game? Is that right?
Right. Yeah, we went. I wish I could say that I was welcomed with open arms, but it was not a good environment. And
Mm.
after the first game, and the prayer was absolutely perfect. Nobody even noticed me the way it should have been from the beginning. I walked across the field after the game. I took a knee, pieced out, and nobody even noticed. And I was just so thankful that that's the way it's supposed to be in America. And my wife and I discussed it. What do we do now? How long do we stay? And we just thought it would be better if we resigned and walked away with our head held high and really let everybody just kind of heal up from everything. And that's kind of the road we took.
Well, I'm glad you continue to pursue this because, as you say, I think it's very important that whenever we see things that are wrong, we call them out and we work as hard as possible. It's in our DNA as Americans, I feel like, to go against somebody trying to stifle our freedom of religion and speech and really taking away our rights as United States citizens, which is essentially what was kind of happening to you here. And I think a lot of people, after they got the first court ruling that said, oh, you know what, actually, we're going to say you can't do this, would have just given up and said, like, yeah, that's enough. I don't have this fight in me. I don't want to deal with a years long pursuit of things. And then to go for 8 years, Joe, that's remarkable. And truly, it is very appreciated by those of us around the country that you continued to fight for our freedoms, because it wasn't ever about you. That's obvious. This was about every American and the country we're in right now and how it will be in the future. And we're very thankful that you continued to pursue as you did. And obviously, you got a great result at the end. And then on the other side of all of that, I imagine somebody must have approached you and said, hey, your story is amazing. Let's make it into a movie. Is that what happened? How did this come about? And how does it feel to have a film made about your life? Because not surprising, Joe, no one has made one about my life. I'm sure there's a lot in Hollywood who would like to make one about the life of Lara Trump, but I will hold my breath on that. Far too many veterans who served our country honorably are now homeless or at risk of becoming homeless. Glenda Williams is a U.S. Army veteran who faced homelessness along with her 5 children. Glenda was struggling to keep up with her rent and basic living expenses. She lived in a dilapidated unit with rodents, mold, broken windows, and broken electrical appliances. The Tunnel to Towers Foundation Homeless Veterans Program provided Glenda with not just shelter, but also a safe and secure environment where she and her children could thrive. Glenda has since returned to school to pursue a degree, and her children are excelling in their studies. Imagine what it means to veterans like Glenda to know that people like you were there to make sure that she and her family had a safe and stable home and a solid foundation to build a new beginning. For Glenda's family and so many others like them, friends like you make all the difference. Donate $11 a month to Tunnel to Towers at t2t.org. That's t2t.org. Going online without ExpressVPN is like leaving your keys in your car while you run into the gas station. Most of the time, you're probably fine, but what if you come back and see someone driving off with your car? Every time you connect to a public Wi-Fi network, like in cafes, hotels, or airports, your online data is not secure. Any hacker on the same network can gain access to and steal your personal data, passwords, bank logins, credit card details. That's why I use ExpressVPN. ExpressVPN stops hackers from stealing your data by creating a secure encrypted tunnel between your device and the internet. You just fire up the app on your phone, laptop, or tablet, click one button, and that's it. You're protected. It's easy to take your online safety for granted until it's too late. Being proactive can save you a lot of future upset and headaches. Secure your online data today by using the #1 rated ExpressVPN by top tech reviewers like CNET and The Verge. Visit expressvpn.com/Trump. That's expressvpn.com/Trump, and you can get an extra 3 months for free.
That's how it all starts, just by doubting it. Yeah, I had
Okay.
somebody heard my testimony and what was going on, and they said this needs to be told, because to me it was a great love story of my love of me and my wife, the love of our country, and the love of our Lord. And so it was a simple story as far as I'm concerned, because it was just my life. And when they
Mhm.
approached me, I was like, yeah, these guys are just out there. Sure, we're going to do a movie on this. And here it is, 8, 9 years later, we do it, and it's coming out October 11th in nationwide. It's weird. It is so weird to have a movie made about you and see people playing your lives. So
Yeah.
everything about us is going to be there on the big screen. We show all the good, the bad, and the ugly of what relationships really look like when you go through things like this.
I feel like whenever you have actors who portray real people, they hone in on sort of maybe some of your little quirks as a human being, and that's what they kind of exaggerate whenever they play those characters. And I'm terrified if one day somebody ever has to play me as a character in something, because I'm sure, thank God Saturday Night Live hasn't done it yet. I'm sure they're chomping at the bit.
I can't
But
believe you
yeah,
just
I
said
probably
that.
I just put that out into the universe, so we'll see what happens. But truly, for me, I think that would be a little, off-putting for me. But it's so funny because I think of that, and now to be experiencing that yourself, it must be, I mean, it must be just out of this world. I can't even imagine. But what do you hope that people ultimately take away from the film? Because, it's one thing to make a movie for entertainment purposes, but I imagine you hope that people walk away from this with a little bit more than we would from just a traditional movie.
Yeah, this is a very uplifting movie, and there's going to be, we take everybody on the emotional roller coaster. You're going to laugh, you're going to cry, there's going to be times you get mad, and there's a lot of humor in it because I can never take myself seriously. And we want people to walk away feeling empowered that, hey, if this average guy can make this big of a difference in our country, imagine what everybody else could do. So I want people to walk away feeling inspired that they can make a difference, and they just need to stand up. And hopefully they'll get out, vote, and be part of their communities, in their schools, and in our elections this year, because we know things are kind of crazy right now, and we need to correct those.
We sure do. From your lips, Joe, I'll say that. Well, I want to say again, thank you for your fight and your courageous nature to do something like this. Because again, I think a lot of people would have shied away the first time you get a bad answer or something you don't want to hear. People often shut down, but maybe you learned it in the United States Marine Corps, which I will say thank you for your service to our country initially, and then another service you did with your fight here for our First Amendment freedoms. It's imperative that whenever we see something like this that is wrong and that goes against our nature as Americans and our rights as Americans, we have to call it out. And truly thank you for that, and thank you for encouraging people to vote, because I always say, it's our right as a citizen of this country, but I also think that it's our duty to get out and vote. We're the ones who ultimately control the direction of this country, and you're right. It feels like things are headed in a very upsetting direction. Life is much harder for a lot of people, and we want to take that back the other direction, and we know how to do it with Donald Trump back in that White House, obviously.
Absolutely, you nailed
Yeah.
that. And
Yeah.
and to take it a step further is that I heard 40 million Americans, Christians, don't even vote. And I'm sitting there thinking, God gave us dominion over this earth, and we're doing a really poor job about it. So we need to get everybody active and involved, and get Trump back into office, and let's turn this country back around, because this is America, and we need it to be healthy.
Yeah, and it really does feel like it's a bigger battle right now than Republican versus Democrat. It's really about right versus wrong and good versus evil in so many respects. And so we're going to continue, speaking of fighting the good fight for every day we have from now up until November 5th. But in terms of the movie, where can people watch? How can they find out more? And I guess find out if it's in their area.
Yes, well, the opening weekend is the most important. I just found that out, how important it is that
Oh.
people show up for the first week. And it starts October 11th. You could go to averagejoemovie.com. I know that's not very original, but just kind of
Yeah,
average.
but you can remember that. AverageJoeMovie.com. Okay.
And yeah, and you zip in there and see where it's playing in your neighborhood, and take your friends, your family, your churches. I recommend all couples go see this, because it will be a huge eye opener for relationships, and really hopefully bring our country a lot closer together, and really inspire people. So God willing, we'll get your dad in there, and we'll get a good movie going.
Amen to that. Yeah. Well, now I got to make sure that Eric Trump watches this movie with me. So maybe on a flight somewhere, although we're never together these days, Joe. We're both in completely different places, at least for the next 30 some odd days. And then come November 5th, hopefully we'll be together to celebrate something great. And then our 10-year wedding anniversary is 3 days later. Imagine that. So we've got a lot going on. But I want to, yeah, I'll take him to watch it. If not now, whenever it's out in theaters, then maybe we'll watch it together, streaming at some point. But listen, again, thank you for your fight. Thank you for believing that the right thing ultimately should happen in America, and we'll continue our fight. And I hope everybody goes out and watches the movie. So Joe Kennedy, thank you for joining us here on The Right View. And to everybody at home, as always, thank you for tuning in. Make sure you like, subscribe, share, and follow. And we'll see you back here next time for more.
And I won't back down. Hey, baby, there ain't no easy way out.
Nothing is worse than being on a phone call that drops. Nothing is worse than trying to text someone and you can't reach them because your phone is out of service range. And nothing is worse than supporting these major corporations and companies who don't support us. That is why I love Patriot Mobile. They are America's only Christian conservative wireless network. They use every cell tower out there available to all networks so that they have the greatest 4G and 5G coverage nationwide, and they support the causes that are important to us as conservatives. If you go today to patriotmobile.com/Lara Trump and use the promo code Trump, you will get free activation today. Again, that is patriotmobile.com/Lara Trump. The promo code is Trump for free activation so that you can get a great cell plan and feel good about doing it.